Hare Krishna, a very warm welcome to all the devotees to our program Srimad Bhagavatam study. Today is our 84th class in this series, and our journey has now reached to the end of Canto number 2. So Canto 2 has 10 chapters, and in 10th chapter we have 51 verses. So today we will conclude our second canto with our concluding discussion starting from verse number 31 till verse number 51. So all these 31 to 51 verses, verse number 31 till 51 have some very interesting information. The title of this chapter number 10 is Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And why this title has been given? Because Parikshit Maharaj in the previous chapter, like in 8th chapter, have asked a long series of questions to Shukdev Goswami. So in that spirit, the answers are now being delivered by Shukdev Goswami one by one. And that is why the title has been given as Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. Interestingly, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given a different title for this chapter. He has mentioned it as 10 characteristics of Puran and third description of the universal form. So as you can see, we have 10 descriptions, 10 characteristics of Bhagavad Puran in the very first verse. And then we also have the universal form description given in the third time in the second canto. So that is also a very appropriate title. Like that, we will continue our class today.
Prabhuji, is it from Sharartha Darshani, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur?
Yes, Prabhuji. The commentary name is Sarartha Darshini.
Okay, thank you.
So if you notice the Bhagavad Subodhini, our author Gaurang Darshan Prabhu have used many places the translations from Sarartha Darshini. Sometimes these translation of verses by Prabhupada ji and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, they have some differences. So Prabhu have taken sometimes from Sarartha Darshini and sometimes from Prabhupada's commentary or from Prabhupada's Bhagavatam. So many times he has taken translation picked up from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In today's class specifically, most of the translations are from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So I will be explaining from those background only. So that, let me move to the next slide. And Mangala Charan is by Manish ji, which I don't see in the class.
I will do, Prabhuji.
Okay, then Rakesh ji can take it.
Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupaha Kada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijan Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्योत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu, for nice recitation of these prayers. Now let us move to the recap part of our class. So the recap is of class number 83. Let me correct it. Class number 83. Okay, so we'll invite our very dear Jeevan Radha Govind Prabhu for doing the summary recap.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Am I
Krishna.
audible?
Yes, yes.
Because my internet frequently
Yeah,
failing, that's why I just
I realized that
yeah.
in the previous session, your internet
Yeah.
was kind of breaking. So please
Yeah.
continue. In case it
Yeah.
doesn't work well, maybe I'll help you. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Right, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna to everyone. Actually, I want to thank our Shiksha Guru, Sri Keshav Gopal Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity to make the recap of the previous class, that is class number 83. Actually, the verses, this particular heading of the chapter is the Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions which are asked by Parishit Maharaja to Sukadev Goswami. The last time, actually, the last class, class number 83, verses were covered from, that is Canto 2, chapter 10, from 8th verse to 30th verse, we covered in the last class. And out of that, the verses 1 and 2 describe all 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, and the highest is the 10th topic, namely the Ashraya. And verses 3 to 7 give definitions of 10 topics of Srimad Bhagavatam, which are covered in class number 82. And verses 8 to 30 were covered in last class, that is class number 83. Now, before proceeding to the shlokas covered in the last class, information was also shared by Prabhuji, quoting the reference from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, chapter 7, verses 9 and 10, that the higher Puranas or Mahapuranas like Srimad Bhagavatam cover all 10 topics, whereas the lesser or the smaller Puranas cover only 5 topics. This was an additional information which was provided by our Guruji in the last class. Now we will go to the verse number 8. Verse number 8. Actually, we have to give this, even though if we are starting with number 8, it has got a good connection with verse number 7. Actually, we have to take reference verse number 7, where Lord Krishna is described as the supreme shelter, who is also known as the Paramatma or Parabrahma. In verse 8, the Paramatma is that is Jiva, and Jiva is the shelter of its. There are 3 coverings for the Jiva. One is the Adhyatmik or the subtle sense. Next is the Adi Devik, that is the sense deities, and sense devatas are sense deities, and Adi Bhautik, that is the gross senses in the body. These coverings are not independent, and they are interdependent. Of course, that is going to be the text of next shloka, but I just wanted to just here add it. Krishna as the supreme shelter or Ashraya also is established in Bhagavad Gita 42, BG, that is 10th chapter 42, second shloka, where Lord says that by his fragment Amsha, he pervades the entire world. And this is more or less the same thing. Now let us go to verse number 9. Verse number 9 explains about the interdependency of all the 3 coverings, namely Adhyatmika, Adi Devika, and Adi Bhautika, in providing enjoyment to the conditioned Jiva. Actually, it is only about the conditioned Jiva. Pure Jiva or pure soul is independent of these 3, and shelter of the same is the is the Paramatma. Actually, it is mentioned as Swa Ashraya Ashraya. This was also explained in the class by Prabhuji. Then now let us go to the next section of the chapter, that is verses 10 to 35, describe creation of the Virata Purusha, and these verses provide answer to Parikshit's question in the 8th chapter, 11th shloka. Incidentally, actually, I want to mention, Prabhuji was mentioning about this Virata Rupa scope. In 3 places it is taking place. One was there in the first initial 2nd chapter, where where the neophyte devotee, he takes reference to the Virat Rupa, and then further things are proceeded in Ashtanga Yoga practice. And second thing, when the Virat Rupa was mentioned to us was when it was explained about creation. Lord Krishna is considered as the most effective and the material and the effective cause. That is the second instance where the Virat Purusha reference was made. Now this is the 3rd instance where Virat Purusha reference is being done. Now the actual question by Parikshit Maharaja to Sukadev Goswami was, he wanted an explanation from Sukadev Goswami about the planets and the governors being imagined as the limbs of the Virat Purusha. He wanted further explanation on that aspect. Now let us go from verse by verse. The answers are provided in this in the coming verses, one by one. Verse 10. Verse 10 says, Mahavishnu, the pure Purusha, enters into each of the universes after separating himself from them and remains outside and desiring a place to lie down. He creates the pure waters of Garbhodaka. That is the definition of verse number 10. Now going to verse number 11, it says, why Lord is called a Narayana? He is called a Narayana because he dwelt for many years on those waters which are known as Nara, because they are created from himself. One is the Nara means that is water, Ayana is the shelter, and he wanted to take his this thing in that place. That is why it is called the Narayana. And one more definition was given, Narayana. Nara means human being. The shelter for all human beings is the Narayana or Narayana or Narayana. Okay, verse number 12. Verse number 12 says that there are these things like Dravya, Karma, Kala, and Swabhava, and the Jivas, and also the Jivas, they can produce effects only by connection to Lord. These things will not have any effect unless they are connected to the Lord. Lord is present as a Antaryami in Dravya, and without his presence or mercy, there cannot be any effect. The main thing is that Lord actually on all these shlokas, the emphasis is on Lord's presence is the only thing. If the Lord is happy, then if Lord is there, if Lord is happy, then everything will definitely take place. Now next shloka is verse number 13. The Lord, the one Lord, desiring to become many, actually he wants to do manifest many of the various living entities. He rises from his bed after the sleep of universal destruction. That is, after that annihilation process, there is some sort of merging into that. And then he starts again, when the creation starts, he starts creating the universe. And at that time, he produces 3 forms of energy. The next definition, verse number 14, actually gives what he mentions about what are these 3 potencies, which are 3 energies, forms of energy which is being created. One is called the Adi Devam, the controlling entities. Adhyatmikam is the controlled entities, and Adi Bhutam is the material bodies. This is that these details are given in verse number 14. Again, coming to verse number 15. Now from the ether within the body of the universal form arises. Actually, there are 3 things which are arising from the body of the universal form. That is one is known as the ojas, energy for the senses. Then is called, second one is called the sahas, or the mind or the mental force. And third one is the balam, or the bodily strength. These things are required, and from them the active, from them arises the best of the life are called sutra or the prana shakti for the jivas. From these three things. Actually, from number 16, verse number 16, the senses become, actually after this, the senses have become active following after the action of sutra, that is, and become ineffective when the sutra becomes inactive. When the senses are active when the sutra is active, and inactive when the things are not, just like a servant following a king. Actually, from 17, from verse number 17 to verse number 32, the creation procedure is explained, and actually I have made that this thing in the form of this thing. There are three things required, four things required. The Lord's desire should be there, and then next is the, actually in the class it was explained. First of all, the certain verses are meant for karma. They are doing some karma, doing some actions by the actions of karma by the indriyas. The other things are by knowledge acquiring are the jnanendriyas. These things are split into two groups, and those things are actually in the class also. Prabhuji has separated out those belonging to the karmendriyas and those becoming to the jnanendriyas. And there are four things involved. Only first thing is the God's desire. That is God's desire. After that, what happens when the God's desire happens? Gross sense organs taking place, then the subtle sense organ, and then sense devatas are there, and then the paramatas are there. Unless these things are, all these things are there, the God desires, all these things cannot happen. So that, and into, I am not going into the, because the detailed in the class, the detailed tabular statement was given for these things, for various things. And karmendriya activities are covered in verses 19, 23, 24, 25, 27, and these are covered in verses 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23, for which the class slides have been provided. And this being a really a technical chapter, all the things are technical details. I don't know to what extent my explanations have been effective, but I have understood from the Prabhuji. I also, read his class 2 or 3 times to understand things. I have understood, but still, how effective I have been there to give the recap, I really don't know. And I request Prabhuji to give any sort of a clarification which are further required in this regard. I thank once again Prabhuji for giving me this opportunity, and also all the our co-devotees for giving a patient hearing. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeevan Prabhu. It was a very clear presentation. If I may give you the feedback, I think you covered most of the points, almost all of the points. Only point probably I think I might like to stress is that the explanation of Virat Rupa that has been given in this second canto, third time, first 2 times you already mentioned in the beginning of your summary. The third time, the presentation of Virat Rupa has been given in the form that when the Lord desires, that it gives rise to his senses, and then also it gives rise to his subtle senses, and then comes the sense devatas, and then comes the tanmatras, the sense objects, or the bodily activity. So this is the message that has been given in this particular description of Virat Roop form. So although the Virat Roop form has been described 3 times, but the way it has been described different times in the second canto, the focus or the objective has been different. So the third time has been described in the 10th chapter, And the idea is that as the Lord desires, he develops his gross senses, gross body, and develops his subtle body, and then develops the uh, gross elements. So the message is that because we also, when we desire something, that means that we are giving rise to our future bodies. If we desire spiritual thoughts, we are moving towards creating our spiritual body. If we are still holding our desires on a material plane, then we need to think that we are going to again gain or get another material body maybe in the next life. But that is the main message in this chapter. Otherwise, Prabhuji covered, I think, very nicely all the important points. Yes, it is a technical chapter, and not really we can imagine these things or perceive things very accurately, because we have to really depend only on the description of the scriptures, and probably we may have our limitations in our understanding. Even I, who supposed to be acting or performing the role of a facilitator in the class, also may be restricted in my understanding on how to explain it, but whatever best possible way we have understood it, I have tried to explain it. And then now let us go to the description of the or the subject matter of the class today. So like we know that we have already covered till verse number 30. So our class today will proceed from verse number 31 all the way to verse number 51. So we are going to cover almost 20 verses in today's session. So the class will be a little bit fast-paced, but there are some very interesting descriptions, very interesting details you will find in the class today. So the Sarga part, Sarga means primary creation. Primary creation means where the Lord is providing the ingredients for Lord Brahma to actually go and further detail out the creation and so on. So we will complete that description of Sarga from verse number 31 to 35. And that will kind of answer Parikshit's question in chapter 8, verse number 11. And then after describing about the Sarga, then Visarga. Visarga is the secondary creation. Secondary creation means now the primary creation means now the primary ingredients have been provided. There have been a universe available. There are different planetary systems available. The living entities have come out from the body of the Lord. Now Brahmaji's role is to provide bodies to these living entities and place them in different lokas. There are 14 planetary systems and there are living entities. They don't have any bodies right now. So that is the secondary creation. Like for example, we purchase a house. When we purchase a house, then in the house, there are no almari, there are no furniture, there are no electrical gadgets. But then slowly and gradually we purchase them from the market and detail the house, make it suitable for living, for our own existence. So something like that Brahmaji is going to do. Secondary creation, that is known as Visarga. So some small brief description of Visarga will be there from 36 till 47. Some interesting details are there. And then the canto number 2 will conclude. And while canto number 2 concludes, there are still some description being provided by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj. But as this description is going on, immediately the conversation zoom out again back to the Naimisharanya forest, where Shaunakadi Rishis and Suta Goswami are having this conversation in Naimisharanya. And there the question now is going to be asked by Shaunak Rishis about Vidur Maitreya Samvad. Vidur Maitreya Samvad. So just like that, the conversation on creation, Sarga, Visarga kind of is interjected, is stopped, and then the question is asked about what about Vidur Maitreya Samvad, and then that becomes the subject matter of canto number 3. So like that, giving you a little heads up on what are we going to expect in the class today. Now let me take you to the appropriate slides. So this is the table that Prabhuji was mentioning. So this is the small formula we discussed yesterday in the previous class, and based on that, the table was prepared. The table is divided based on, first of all, we have discussed about the Jnanendriyas, and then we will discuss about, we have mentioned about the Karmendriyas, although there are a few other elements also mentioned here, and then maybe some more details are here. So here we will start our discussion today in the class today. We will need maybe 2-3 devotees to help me read the text. So
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
I cannot.
okay.
Hare
Okay, so
Krishna.
Jivan Prabhu is there. One, I heard Anuradha Mataji's voice.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay,
And me also.
okay, and Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. So Anuradha ji, Jivan ji, and Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. Okay, so we have roughly 20. So we will provide maybe 6 or 7 to each devotee. So maybe Anuradha Mataji can start. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Shall I start?
Krishna.
Yes.
Hmm.
Creation of dhatus and prajna. The 7 elements of the body, namely the thin layer on the skin itself, the flesh, blood, fat, marrow, and bone, are all made of earth, water, and fire, whereas a life breath is produced by the sky, water, and air.
Yeah. So now we have seen how, based on the formula that the Lord desires to eat, then the gross senses come, then the subtle senses come, then the sense devatas comes, then the element comes. So that is the formula we were following in the previous verses from 17 to 30. Now, after describing these 3 coverings, which is Adhi Daivik covering, Adhi Atmik covering, and Adi Bhautik covering on the living entity, there are some more details are given here. So here in this verse, the creation of dhatus and pranas have been described. So dhatus are actually some elements in the body which have been mentioned as starting from skin. So we have skin. In the skin, in verse number 23, tvachi. Tvachi has been described as skin. Skin means the gross sense organ that we can perceive. We can touch, we can see that skin. But there is a subtle sense organ known as tvak, which is a subtle skin. And the sense devata is vayu. But here, some dhatus have been explained, and the presence of these dhatus start from the thin layer on the skin. So there is a thin layer on the skin, and the function of this thin layer of the skin is to help us perceive the sensation. So like, for example, if there's a wind blowing, then maybe we can perceive that the wind is blowing through this thin layer. And then we have the skin itself, then there is flesh, then there is blood, there is fat, there is marrow, and there is bone. So all are been mentioned here in the verse. Namely, the thin layer, the skin itself, the flesh, blood, fat, marrow, and bone. These are all made up of earth, water, and fire. Now, somebody might get confused. We had this understanding that everything in this material world has been made up of 5 gross elements, which is earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Here, only 3 are mentioned: earth, water, and fire. So where is ether and air? Where did ether and air go? So the description has been given in the commentary by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that although these are made up of 5 elements, but these are nourished by mainly 3 elements, which are earth, water, and fire. These are not nourished by air and ether, although they are made up of all the 5 elements, but they are mainly nourished by earth, water, and fire. That is why in this verse, only these earth, water, and fire are mentioned here. And then also it means, and that explanation we hear or we read from Prabhupada's purport, that what does it mean by that these things are made up of by earth, water, and fire. So this means that for maintaining them, what do we need? We need earth. Earth means in terms of food. The food that we eat, that is kind of representing here earth. The water. In order to maintain our gross body, we need water. We need food, we need water, and we need fire. Fire means representing heat. We need heat in terms of the sunlight, and we also need maybe in terms of our Jataragni. Jataragni means the fire that burns the inside our stomach. So that is also representing heat. So in order to maintain our gross body, we need food, we need water, and we need, and food also something like produced from the earth, like vegetables, food, fruits, etc. And we need fire in terms of sunlight, and we need fire in terms of Jataragni, the fire that burns in our stomach. So that is we need for the maintenance of our gross body. But then, whereas the life breath, the prana vayu, is produced by the sky, water, and air. So where prana vayu is actually about the subtle body, the life breath. The prana is made up of sky, water, and air. So what does it mean? It is made up of sky, water, and air. So it means that for our prana vayu to be healthy, for our mental health, what do we need? We need ample space. Ample space means sky, akash. And then we need water. So this is mainly from the purport that Prabhupada has written. We need ample water. Ample water means if we have good bath, so sometimes we are not feeling very good. Mentally, we may not be feeling very good, and we may go and stand in the shower, have a good bath, then we feel a little rejuvenated. So that is mainly our mental rejuvenation happens when we take bath. And then we need fresh air. So we need good space. So sometimes people find when they are mentally exhausted, they like to roam around, go out, have a little chill out, you may say, like in modern terms. So good space, have a good bath, and fresh air. That is mainly for life breath. So there are some additional details that are given here in verse number 31, and you will also see those details coming in verse number 32. Say after describing all these elements, gross sense organ, subtle sense organ, the sense deities, the sense objects, gross elements, etc. Some little more details have been given in terms of dhatus and the prana. And I am trying to explain you both from the purports that are given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as well as from the purport by Srila Prabhupada. We go to the 32nd verse. So again, Mataji, please read.
Okay. The senses gravitate to sense objects. The sense objects appear attractive because of false ego. The mind sustains all changes. The intelligence consists of the power of discrimination.
Now, you already saw that the description or the Virat Purusha, when it desires to eat, then the gross sense organ occurs, then the subtle sense organ comes, then the sense deity comes, then the sense object comes. Like that, we have already discussed. But now, the general nature of these things, what is the nature of the sense objects? What is the nature of the senses? What is the nature of the sense objects? What is the nature of the mind, the intelligence, and all these things? So we have seen that they are now there in the Virat Purusha, but a general description of what is the nature of these things. And so the first line says the senses gravitate to sense objects. So this is mainly the senses of a conditioned soul. So generally, the senses get attracted by sense objects. Sense objects mean the tanmatras. So we have the senses, we have like eyes, ear, nose, skin, tongue, like that. So we have these Gyanendriyas. So these are attracted towards the respective sense objects. So the eyes are getting attracted to some beautiful form, ears are getting attracted to some beautiful sound, music, etc. like that. So that is the first line. The senses gravitate to sense objects. Then the second line is the sense objects appear attractive because of false ego. Because of false ego. So false ego actually represents what? False ego actually represents, ego means individuality. Ego means I-ness. What does ego means? Ego means that that awareness which give us this knowledge that we are different from the other person. So my ego tells me that I am a person who is different from maybe Anuradha ji, maybe Vrindavaneshwari ji, with Jivan ji, like that. So I am different from these people. So this is my ego. Now, if this ego works in a wrong way, the actual identity of ego is that ego need to understand that he is the energy of the Lord. He is the part and parcel of the Lord. And the actual purpose of this ego or this ahankar or this identity is mainly to love and serve the Lord. But now, because it is not identity, is there is identity crisis. Identity crisis actually means what I mean to say is it is identifying not with this serving propensity of the Lord or with loving propensity towards the Lord, but it is identifying itself with the sense objects. So it identifies wrongly with the sense objects, with the body. It not identify itself as a soul, but it identifies itself as a body. Now, because it identifies it at the body, and these sense objects give pleasure to the body, give enjoyment to the body. So the ego actually starts to, the sense object starts to appear attractive to this ego, mainly because of the false identification. Because of the false identification means identifying itself with the body. So this is the meaning of the second line. Then the mind sustains all changes. So what is the nature of the mind? The nature of the mind is that whatever the living entity experiences, it is actually recorded. It is actually stored in the mind. So any happiness, any distress, that is stored in the mind. Then the intelligence consists of the power of discrimination. And we have buddhi. Buddhi means intelligence. The job of intelligence is mainly to distinguish between the right and the wrong thing, like that. So after describing these different aspects like gross sense organ, subtle sense organ, the sense deities, the sense objects, the gross elements, etc. Now the general nature of things have been described. In the previous verse, there is some additional detail in terms of dhatus and prana, what is nourished, what nourishes the dhatus and what nourishes the prana has been described. And in the 32nd verse, the general nature of things about what does the senses like, what attracts the sense objects, and then about the false ego, the mind, and the intelligence that has been mentioned. So Prabhupada ji also mentions an important point here in the purport. If you read that good association makes intelligence sharp. So if we have good association or saintly association, spiritual association, where we learn about our position as the soul, our relationship with the Lord, all these subject matter if we discuss, that makes our intelligence sharp. And then one can get rid of the attraction and ahankar of the sense objects. So the senses gravitate to sense objects. That is the attraction of the senses towards the sense objects. So we can get rid of that if we have saintly association. Similarly, we identify ourselves with the sense objects, mainly because it gives us pleasure. So that ahankar of the living entity to identify itself with the sense object, that also we can give away if we have good saintly association. So we will be careful in using sense objects. We will be careful in getting connected with them and so on. So like that, we need to understand this verse number 32. We'll go to the 33rd verse. Yeah.
Shall I read, Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
Gross form. I have thus described to you the composition of one universe as a form of the Lord, which is covered by 8 layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, false ego, Mahatattva, and Prakriti.
Now he's concluding the discussion. So he's saying that I have thus described to you the composition of one universe as the form of the Lord. So as the form of the Lord means Virat Purusha. I have described you this universe as the form of the Lord. So what was the original question? Parikshit was asking about the Virat Purusha. Please, can you give me some more details? And that is what Shukdev Goswami started to give the details to Parikshit Maharaj. Now he's concluding it. And these are the first lines of this verse are actually the concluding lines. They are saying that, okay, now we are concluding. And then, which is covered by 8 layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, false ego, Mahat Tattva, and Prakriti. Like that. So you saw that creation that we discussed in the previous chapters where, first of all, the Pradhan comes. Here, Pradhan actually means Prakriti only. Then that get transformed into Mahat Tattva. Then it get transformed into Ahankar. And then from Ahankar, then all the other different elements come. So it is saying that it is covered with these 8 layers of earth. 8 layers. This form of the Lord actually is covered by the 8 layers. So that is the gross form. So that is what he's trying to say. Prabhupada ji has described these 8 layers in a little different way. So the way he describes is like the 5 gross elements and the Man, Buddhi, Ahankar, the 3 subtle elements. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur described it in a slightly different way. So which you see here is the description by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Here, when Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says false ego, that actually is to be understood to include mind and intelligence also, and then Mahat Tattva and Prakriti. Like that, we can understand this. Okay, we go to the next one. 34th and 35th together. These are combined together. Yes, Mataji, please read.
Subtle form. Behind this gross form is a subtle form which is invisible, without beginning or end, and behind the expression of words and mental speculation. The wise do not accept both these forms of the Lord as they are composed of matter.
So in the previous verse, the gross form, like we have gross body, we have subtle body. Similarly, the Virat Purusha of the material form of the Lord also has a gross form and also has a subtle form. So gross form was described composed of earth, water, fire, air, ether, false ego, Mahat Tattva, and Prakriti. Here, now the subtle form is also being mentioned here. Beyond this gross form is a subtle form which is invisible, without beginning or end, and beyond the expression of the words and mental speculation. The wise do not accept both these forms of the Lord as they are composed of matter. So what is being mentioned here, as I mentioned to you, like we have gross form and a subtle form. Similarly, the Virat Purusha also has gross form and the subtle form. So that is what being mentioned here. Beyond this gross form is a subtle form, which is invisible. Like we have subtle form. For example, we have mind. Now, where is mind? It is invisible, without beginning or an end. Now, how do we say that the mind has a beginning here and ends here? Cannot say. So it does not have any beginning. It does not have any end, because it's a subtle thing. So subtle things are abstract. Like, for example, I say, I love my son. Now, you may say that what is love? Does it have any beginning or an end? Or does it have any form? Can you see it? It is invisible. It is invisible. It does not have any beginning. It does not have any end. And beyond the expression of words and mental speculation. So it is beyond description. You cannot describe really these abstract things. Similarly, these subtle ideas, the subtle form is also invisible, without beginning or end, and beyond the expression of words and mental speculation. The wise do not accept both these forms of the Lord as they are composed of matter. So this is important here. So these are the wise people. They don't accept either the subtle form and or the gross form. Why? Because they are both composed of matter. Because they are both Maya. Maya means matter. So, so the pure devotees do not accept these forms. So that is the idea here. Pure devotees actually only accept the spiritual form of the Lord. They don't accept these material form of the Lord. Material form is primarily meant for whom? They are mainly primarily meant for. Do you remember what description we gave, what reason we gave in the beginning? In the earlier chapters, what for whom this material form of Virat Purusha is useful?
Neophyte yogi.
Neophyte yogis, right? So similarly, people, when they come to spirituality, they also start to understand God, first of all, as the invisible energies, invisible forces in the material world. Like, for example, when they look at the tree, they see that the tree is giving fruits, and the fruits are seasonal fruits. Fruits are seasonal fruits. Like in summers, we have fruits which are full of water, like watermelon. And in winters, we will get fruits which are being a little bit, give heating effect in the body, like that. So people might wonder that how is this happening? In this season, when we need some more watery fruits, we have watery fruits, we have some heating fruits, we have some heating fruits. It looks like there is some invisible divine force is actually looking after us. That is something like you can call it a Brahman realization, where we try to see the invisible divine force everywhere. And then gradually, when the experience of this yogi or this transcendentalist starts to evolve, then this yogi starts to understand that not only it is an invisible divine force, but this invisible divine force has a personality. It can create, it can control, it can oversee, it can do these kind of controlling things like Ishvara. Like, for example, we have read this literature called Ishopanishad. So Ishopanishad, the word used has been as Ishvara. Ishvara means the controller. So that is mainly describing about related to the material world. Material world. So that is something which is known as the Paramatma realization. Paramatma, who is situated in the heart of the living entity, who is overseeing all the actions of the living entity. He is also situated in each and every atom and holding that atom together. The taste in sugar is mainly because the Paramatma is present there. The taste in salt is salty because the Paramatma is present there. So it is mainly the Paramatma who is actually causing these everything, causing all these things. But this Paramatma is mainly related, the understanding of Paramatma is mainly related to the material world. But then comes a even more evolved understanding of God, which is the Bhagavan realization. So Bhagavan realization means this Paramatma actually not only controls in the material world, but it also has its own place in the spiritual world, where he has his associates, where he has his girlfriends, where he has his friends, parents. He has his own activities. Very simply, it was Leela. It's just do enjoyment. And those people who focus, who meditate only on the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord, they are actually the pure devotees. They are actually the pure devotees. So that is being mentioned here. The wise do not accept both these forms of the Lord as they are composed of matter. As they are composed of matter. So the pure devotees are not very much interested in the Paramatma aspect of the Lord. They are actually interested only in the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord. And why? Because focusing on the Bhagavan aspect of the Lord will give prema in their heart. Like you remember the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, we discussed a lot in the third Chatushloki, the Rahasyam, the prema. So why the pure devotees of the Lord are focusing only on the Bhagavan aspect? because actually that only can give you that prema, and that prema only can take you back to the spiritual world. So this is the understanding here. The wise do not accept both these forms of the Lord as they are composed of matter. So even the Paramatma form is not of good interest for the advanced people, for the wise people. So that is what is being mentioned here. And also I would like to take time here, little maybe 2 minutes here, to impress upon the process of chanting. The chanting that we do, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now all these three words, Hare, Krishna and Ram, they are all spiritual names. So we may have names of the Lord like Jagat Palak or Srishti Karta, Jagat Karta, Paramatma, Brahman, Ishvara. So these, all of these names of the Lord are actually mainly related to its material creation. So already, although the chanting of these names may be very pious, may do some good to us, but on the spiritual front, they don't do much. They don't deliver much. On the spiritual front, if you need some spiritual benefit, if you need some spiritual upliftment, then chanting of the transcendental names of the Lord, the spiritual names of the Lord, like Krishna, Rama, Govinda, Narsimha, like all these names, these names, Yashomati Nandan, Brajavar Nagar, like that. So these names are all mainly related to the spiritual activities of the Lord in the spiritual world. And that is what the Lord actually really likes to hear. And that is why the chanting of these holy names have a spiritual benefit. So that is why we say that why do we really so much give emphasis on the chanting of the spiritual names? Because only by doing this process, you can achieve the prema in your heart, like that. So that is how I would like to explain this. The wise do not accept both these forms of the Lord as they are composed of matter. So why should we be interested in something where we are already in this material world? So we need to get out from this materialistic existence. And if we want to go to the spiritual existence, we need to do something spiritual. And chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the purest spiritual activity that we can do. Okay, now here you see a footnote here. Similar theme in 1, 3, 32 and 33. So this is something which now I would like to turn back my pages of my book. And if I may read the description given in the 32nd verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto. So the description read like this. Beyond this gross, gigantic form of the universe is another subtle material form, which is without formal shape and is unseen, unheard, and unmanifest. This is similar to the Jiva's subtle body, which acts as an instrument for his rebirth. So this is the description given in the 32nd verse. 33rd verse, when a person experiences that he has nothing to do with the gross and subtle bodies, he can realize Brahman. Okay, so the point is, when we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to kind of understand or improve our understanding of the previous verses by understanding the description of the verses that we are studying at the moment. So when we might have read or studied those verses, we might not have realized their importance as much. But now, after really reading more about Virat Purusha, it has a gross form, it has a subtle form, and then again the similar description is coming in the 10th chapter here in the form of 34th and 35th verses. So we can now actually go back and relate all these verses together. So like that we can understand them. Okay, now we move further to the 36th verse. Please read, Mataji.
Yes, the Lord, though not performing material actions, accepted the form of Brahma and performed actions for creating the forms and activities of the living entities. subject to names, and as well created the names suitable for each type of body and its activities.
Yeah. Now you might have noticed our theme has changed. So the theme was Sarga. Sarga means the primary creation, creation of Virat Rupa, answer to Parikshit's question in 2811. That we have completed. So I hope you have noted it. So that is something, the answer to question 2811 has been done, has been delivered by Shukdev Goswami. Now, the new theme is starting, which is Visarga explained. So from verse number 36 till verse number 44, Visarga means the secondary creation will be explained. And in this description, you will find creation, maintenance, as well as destruction of the individual bodies that you will be that you will be studying till verse number 44. Here, the explanation that has been given is that the Lord does this creation as Brahma. So now you already noted that the Brahma takes birth from the navel of the Lord on the lotus, and when Brahmaji is inspired by the Lord, the primary creation has already been done. Now Brahmaji, as a service to the Lord, actually starts doing the secondary creation. So here, the Lord, though not performing material actions, accepted the form of Brahma and performed actions for creating the forms and activities of living entities. So he does this activity. Now here, when it is mentioned that the accepted the form of Brahma, so there are two possibilities where Prabhupada ji writes in the purport that the Lord control or the Lord actually creates as Brahma, the Lord maintains as Lord Vishnu, and the Lord does the destruction as Lord Shiva. So from Lord Vishnu, from the Garbhodakshay Vishnu comes Lord Brahma, that we have already studied. And from Brahma comes Lord Shiva. From Brahma comes Lord Shiva. So sometimes Brahma is a separate entity from Vishnu, who does the creation, who does the Visarga, who does the secondary creation. But sometimes Lord Vishnu does it himself as Brahma. So this line, accepted the form of Brahma and performed actions for creation. So you can understand it in this way, that sometimes this secondary creation is done by Brahma, which is separate from Lord Vishnu. But sometimes Lord Vishnu himself takes up this job of Lord Brahma and does this secondary creation. This is how Prabhupada ji has explained in the purport. Then, when this creation happens, subject to names, creating the forms and activities of living entities, subject to names. So now he creates these living entities. What are these living entities? He may create human beings, he may create devatas, he will create birds, reptiles, animals, and then maybe prajapatis, the sages, etc. So next verse you will find all these different living entities. Their names are mentioned there, and as well as created the names suitable for each type of body and its activities. So each type of body means in humans he may create Brahmana, and after creating Brahmana, he will describe the activities, that your activities is Pathan, Yajan, studying the scriptures, teaching the scriptures, doing the worship, accepting worship, like that. Yajan, like that. So Pathan, Yajan, like that. You may the body of the Brahmana has been created and the activities of Brahmana has been created. Similarly, the body of Kshatriya has been created. Body of Kshatriya created means the Kshatriya body will have more Rajoguna compared to Brahmana body. Brahmana body will have more Sattva Guna, like that. And then the activities of Kshatriya has been described like that. So this is how we need to understand this. And then the another point is, the Lord, though not performing material actions, though not performing material actions, accepted the form of Brahma and performed actions for creating. So what does it mean? The Lord is doing creation, secondary creation, but at the same time, the verse says, not performing material actions. Not performing material actions means actually whatever activity the Lord do, he does not get any reaction to his action. He does not get any karma like the living entities get. The Lord does not get any karma. Why? Because the Lord in the form of Brahma, or Brahma separated from Lord Vishnu, when he is doing secondary creation, is giving the living entities bodies and different roles, different bodies according to their own past deeds. According to their own past deeds. So it is not that by doing this creation, he is getting any karma. Say, one living entity has been given the body of a Brahmana, another has been given the body of a reptile or a lion or anything like that. So those who are getting something which may be considered or perceived as lower level of species or bodies, so somebody might say that Lord is actually doing partiality. He's giving someone a better body and some other as an inferior body. So he may get this karma because he's favoring someone and is not favoring the other one. It is not like that because he's doing it only based on the past deeds of the living entity. So he does not get any karma there. Okay, now we go to the next reader, that is Jivan Prabhu.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, Prabhu.
The Lord, though not performing material actions, accepted the form of Brahma and performed actions for. I'm sorry.
The slide has
37 to
changed.
39 creation.
Yeah.
37 to 39. Brahma created the Prajapatis, the Manus, the Devatas, the Sages, the Pitrus, the Siddhas, Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidadaras, Asuras, Guhyakas, guardians of Kuvera, Kinnaras, Apsaras, Nagas, Sarpas, Kimpurushas, Uragas, Matrus, Rakshasas,
Pishachas,
Pretas, Bhutas, Kushmandas, Unmadas, Vetalas, Yatudanas, Grahas, birds, wild and domestic animals, trees, mountains and reptiles, and as well various living beings of 2 types, 4 types, and 3 types.
Yeah. So in the previous verse, we understood creating the forms and activities of living entities. So these are the so many different type of living entities he has created. And then, so you see the names here, nothing much to describe here. It is simply facts given in these verse about different living entities that were created by Brahmaji. And then in the end, there are something which is interesting, and as well as various living beings of 2 types, 4 types, and 3 types. So this elaboration on 2 types, 4 types, 3 types, we can see the detail in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. So 2 types actually mean the living entity you can classify based on if they are moving and non-moving. Sthavar Jangam. Sthavar means stationary. I think Sthavar means movable and Jangam means stationary. So moving and non-moving. Then 4 types. 4 types actually mean either they are born from womb, from egg, from perspiration, or from seed. Like plants take birth from seed, or some living entities take birth from the perspiration. Some living entities take birth from egg, and some take birth from a womb. Like we see the birds, reptiles, etc. They take birth from egg. Human beings, we understand, take birth from womb. Some animals also take birth from womb. Some living entities take birth from perspiration, and some are sprouting from seeds. So there are 4 types. Then you can also classify these living entities as 3 types. What are these 3 types? Living on land, living in water, and living in air, like that. So this is how we can understand the last line. Otherwise, The rest of the verse is simply a factual based, where Brahmaji is creating different living entities depending upon their past life karma. In fact, the position of Brahma is also awarded based on the past life karma by the Supreme Lord. So if a living entity has a lot of pious credits and so on, then they can even become Brahma in the next life. Okay, now we go to the 42, 41. Please read.
It's only the old slide. You have to change the slide.
Okay, let the slide change in your screen.
Okay, right. 40, 41. Modes permute to give many species. The results of action are good, bad, and mixed. Because of the gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, men become devatas, humans, and inhabitants of hell. Okay, these three types of beings are again divided into three when each nature is mixed with the other two groups.
Other two gunas, right?
Gunas.
Yeah. So modes permute to give many species. Modes permute means, I hope you might have read the chapter of permutation and combination in your maybe high school maths or maybe 11th class maths and so on. A chapter which sometimes is a little complicated for students to understand. Permutation combination means, now I have three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So how can I permute them? How can I make different permutations with them? So for example, one living entity, I give only sattva. Another living entity, I give only rajas. Another living entity, I only give tamas. So this is one possibility. So what happens with that? The one I give only sattva are the devatas. The one I give only rajas are the human beings. And then the one I give tamas are actually the residents of the hellish planets, like that. So we have 14 planetary system, and we have different living entities coming out from the body of the Lord, which were dormant in the body of the Lord, Mahavishnu. They have now come out, and Brahmaji is now creating. He's giving different bodies, and with the bodies, he's giving actually gunas. So he gives devatas the body which is full of sattva. He's give human the body which is full of rajas, and he's giving body with the tamas to those who are he's going to place in the hellish planets, in the lower planetary system. So like that. So this is what the first line means. The result of actions are good, bad, and mixed. Good means sattva, bad means tamas, and mixed actually means rajas. Because of the gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, men become devatas, humans, and inhabitants of hell. So permutation means sattva, rajas, and tamas. Now I start combining them. Combining them means, like, let us say, for example, rajas. So the one who has been given the body of rajas means like the human beings. If I take one human being, which is rajas, and I add lot of sattva to this human being, now combining. So I'm taking one human being which is actually predominantly rajas, but now adding lot of sattva in addition of already the rajas is present there. I am adding lot of sattva to this. Now this becomes a brahmana. If I add less sattva and more rajas, this becomes a kshatriya. And then if I add more tamas, this becomes a shudra. And in between, maybe you can say there's a vaishya also. Like that. So, like that, there are permutation. So, rajas with more predominant sattva, more predominant rajas, and more predominant tamas. I have now made 1, 2, 3 other. Earlier it was sattva, rajas, and tamas. Now I have, from the rajas part, I have added 3 more combinations. Isn't it? So I had 3. Now with 3 more, it becomes something like 6. So then again, with sattva, I can make more combination like 3 more. And with raja, with tamas, I can make 3 more. So 3 plus 3 plus 3. So 9 more combinations I can prepare. So, O king, these 3 type of beings are again divided into 3. when each nature is mixed with the other two gunas. Each nature means rajas has been mixed with other two gunas. Then again 3 more combinations start to arise. So like that, it has been mentioned. So interestingly, Prabhupada ji in the purport mentions one very important thing: how to change our nature. Like for example, if I consider myself as a very degraded person, maybe more in the mode of tamas, then how can I change my nature? So he gives this formula that we can do this, we can do so by good sattvic association. By good sattvic association. So the more we partake sattvic association of people who are at the level of sattva, then we can actually start to move towards more sattva and sattva and at the end of the day pure sattva, like that. So he also gives in his purport the example of Narad Muni. Narad Muni was a very child of a maid servant, did not even had father, did not even know who father, he did not even saw his father in the childhood, was born in the family of a very poor lady, a maid servant. But by the association of Bhakti Vedantas, by the association of very saintly people, he could change his nature. He actually got the body of Narad Muni, like that. And then example of Ajamil is also given. Ajamil got the association of the Vishnu Dutas, where he heard Vishnu Dutas glorifying the name of the Lord, and he understood how really uplifting the chanting of the holy name of the Lord could be. And that one moment of association of Vishnu Dutas actually changed the life of Ajamil. So like that, no matter whatever nature we have been given, we can uplift ourselves from that nature by actually associating with the saintly people. So like that. Okay. So with that, we go to the 42nd. Prabhu, continue to read.
Yeah. Slide action. Thank you. 42. Maintenance. The Lord in the form of Vishnu, establishing this universe, maintains it with animals, men and human beings, expressing their own natures of maintenance. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So nothing much to discuss in this verse. As I mentioned, in these verses, Shukdev Goswami is narrating about the creation, maintenance, and annihilation. So creation is done by the engineer, Brahmaji himself, or maybe Vishnuji taking the role of Brahmaji, that creation is done. Maintenance is done by Lord Vishnu. And you can see I have purposely taken the picture of Lord Vishnu from the Ishopanishad book, so that you can understand that Ishopanishad mainly is about the Lord as Ishvara. The Lord as Ishvara means Lord as the controller of the material world. So Ishopanishad does not deal with the Lord of the spiritual world. That is not the subject matter of the Ishopanishad. So that is what you need to understand here. Okay, we need to go to the 43rd verse. Yeah.
43. Destruction. Then the Lord, Kalagni Rudra, destroys this universe, which he alone created by time energy, just as the wind destroys a mass of clouds.
Yeah. So again, nothing much to discuss here. As I mentioned, Brahmaji is the creator, Vishnuji is the maintainer, and Lord Shiva Rudra is the annihilator. So the destruction is done by Kala Agni Rudra, and destroys the universe which he alone created by time energy, just as the wind destroys the mass of cloud. So one analogy has been given: wind destroys the mass of cloud. So nothing much to discuss here, neither in the purports. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has elaborated a lot here. But then we now move to the 44th one. Yes, Prabhu. When the slide changes in your screen, please read.
Okay.
Hmm.
44. The Lord has been described in many scriptures as the creator of the universe. Some pure devotees, however, do not see him only as the creator of the universe.
So again, the same theme has been repeated here. So the Lord has been described by many in many scripture as the creator of the universe. So as I was mentioning to you, Jagat Palak, Srishti Karta, Jagat Karta. So many scriptures describe about the Lord in these names. But some pure devotees, however, do not see him only as the creator of the universe. So I discussed this in the previous section short while ago, how the Lord actually is the creator of the universe, but the pure devotees do not see him only as the creator of the universe. They see him as actually the Lord Krishna, who is the resident of the Golok Vrindavan. And again, the same secondary names, primary names. Primary names means the main names of the Lord: Krishna, Govinda, Rama, like that. Gopi Janavallabh, Gopal, Keshav, Jivan, Radha, Govind. So we have so many spiritual names here. So like that. So why these names are there? Mainly because they really, when we chant these names, we are connecting to ourselves to the spiritual world. How do we connect? Do we really connect? This is something which is really mystical, which is a mystery, which we cannot understand. Because that is why, if you remember the third verse of Chatusloki Bhagavatam, the word Rahasyam was used. It is a mystical process. It's a mystery. It is actually the, as the name says, as the verse says in Shikshashtakam, Nam Nam Agari Bahuda Niji Sarva Saktis. So the Lord says that I have invested all my energies in my name. All my energies in my name. So when you chant Krishna, actually when you chanted Krishna and focus your mind on this name, you have actually connected with the Lord directly. That is how powerful it is, chanting of the holy names. And because it is very simple, the drawback is, because it is so simple, generally we don't appreciate and deeply understand the value of chanting. So simply chanting, like we are chanting maybe Coca-Cola, or we are chanting mobile, or we are chanting laptop or table, chair, etc. No, it is not same as that. It is not even same as chanting Paramatma, Brahman, or maybe Jagat Karta, Srishti Karta, Jagat Palak. No, it is not even similar to chanting these secondary names of the Lord, which are in relation to the material creation. So chanting of the name of the Lord is really a very deep spiritual activity, and the more sincerely, the more focused we chant this, the more spiritual benefits we must expect to receive. Okay, now we change the reader. We now go to the third reader, Vrindavaneshwari Mataji. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, please go ahead.
The Lord does not directly carry out the activities of creation, maintenance, and destruction. His direct involvement is denied everywhere in the scriptures. The activities performed by Maya are ascribed to him.
So here in the 45th verse, this point is being mentioned. Even the Purushavtaras of the Lord, like Paramatma, or Purushavtaras like Mahavishnu or Garbhodakasha Vishnu, they don't even do these activities all by themselves. They actually delegate to its deputies. Like Maya Shakti or Prakriti actually does it. The Lord only glances at the Prakriti, and then the whole process of creation starts. And then similarly, the maintenance and the destruction, the Lord delegates it to his deputies. So he does not do it. But then why does the scripture says that he is the doer of these activities? Why does the scripture say that he is the creator? Because if the scripture does not do so, then the people think that the Maya actually all does it. So his direct involvement is denied everywhere in the scripture. The activities performed by Maya are ascribed to him. Actually, the activities are performed by Maya. They are only imposed on the Lord, that the Lord has actually done it. So this is the meaning of this verse, that the Lord directly does not do it, although he is the doer, but he is the kind of simply a supervisor who is just guiding his energies to carry out these activities. 46th.
The life of Brahma has division of days. The usual procedure is that the Sarga creation takes place at the beginning of the life of Brahma and the Visarga creation takes place at the beginning of the day of Brahma.
Now, it is something a little bit related to the answer to the question that was asked by Parikshit, was about the mention of time. Now, let me take you to the next slide, which is from the 8th chapter. So I brought this slide from the 8th chapter that we discussed. In the 8th chapter, in the verse number 13 and 14, one of his question was about divisions of time. He is asking about small division like second, millisecond, and so on, and large division like years. Large division means like years, centuries, and so on. So that is a large unit of time, and the small unit of time is like seconds, milliseconds, and so on. Because he has been asking this question, and Brahmaji kind of trying to answer that question, starting to answer that question. Or sorry, not Brahmaji. Shukdev Goswami is trying to answer that question. He's saying that life of Brahma has division of days. The usual procedure is that Sarga creation takes place at the beginning of the life of Brahma. Sarga means primary creation. So primary creation, when Lord Vishnu does, then only from the navel of Lord Vishnu, the lotus comes out and Brahmaji on that lotus appears, take birth. So the Sarga takes place at the beginning of the life of Brahma. That is clear, right? And when that Sarga creation has happened, then the 14 planetary systems are done, and then Brahmaji does this Visarga, the secondary creation. In the secondary creation, the living entities are given the bodies, they are given different lokas for the living entities, like that. So that is the secondary creation. That happens each day of Brahma, every day of Brahma, that Visarga that happens. And then, and the Visarga creation takes place at the beginning of the day of Brahma. So there are two things, Sarga and Visarga. Sarga is taking place at the beginning of the life of Brahma, and Visarga takes place every day of Brahma. So Brahmaji wakes up and does the creation. Then he goes to sleep, then the annihilation takes place. Again wakes up the next day, then again does the creation. Then goes to sleep, then again the annihilation takes place. Like that. That cycle keeps on going on. And if you read Prabhupadaji's purport, there are much more details given on these division of time. So when we talk about Kalpa, so there are three names that are given: Mahakalpa, Vikalpa, and Kalpa. Mahakalpa, Vikalpa, and Kalpa. So when Karanodakshaya Vishnu creates, he creates once in Mahakalpa. That is what Karanodakshaya Vishnu means, the creation. Mahakalpa. In one Mahakalpa, Karanodakshaya Vishnu creates. And creation of Brahma and dispersion of material ingredients, like Brahmaji created, and then once again the material ingredients got dispersed. That happens in a Vikalpa. And this Vikalpa is equivalent to one breath of Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu breathes out like this. And then all these creation takes place. All these different universes come out. That is primary creation, like that. And then, so Kalpa actually means one day of Brahma. Kalpa means one day of Brahma. Okay. And one day of Brahma is equal to 1000 Divya Yugas. And one Divya Yuga is actually a cycle of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. So we are now in the Kali Yuga. Before that, it was Dwapar, it was Treta, it was Satya Yuga. So 4 yugas combined together is one Divya Yuga. 1000 such Divya Yugas is equal to one day of Brahma. Each day, Brahmaji does this creation. And when Brahmaji gets birth, then that actually means the primary creation has been done. Like, okay. So this question about time was asked by Parikshit Maharaj, as I mentioned to you, in the 8th chapter, 13th and 14th verse. But in detail, this question will be answered in the 3rd canto, 11th chapter, where they will talk more in detail about small division and large divisions of time. So, but from this little description in 46th verse, you can understand that how big could be the time. Like, for example, Mahakalpa. Mahakalpa is only the duration where Mahavishnu breathes out. And in that Mahakalpa, then Vikalpa happens, and then within that Vikalpa means the one full lifespan of Brahma. And in this one lifespan of Brahma, each day Brahma does creation. So 1000 Divya Yugas. 1000 Divya Yugas means Kali Yuga, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, like that. So if you read the purport both by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur as well as by Prabhupada ji, Brahma ji's every day has a name. So 1 month of Brahma will have 30 days, and each day of Brahma will have one dedicated name. These names are given in Skanda Puran as a name. So maybe I can read out for you a couple of names, if you may give me 5 seconds. So these names are something like Shwet Kalpa, Neela Lohit, Vamadeva, Gathantar, Raurav, Pran, and like that there are 30 names, and each name represents one day of Brahma. One day of Brahma. Okay, so I hope that should clarify you the understanding of the meaning of this verse, 46th verse, where some description of the time has been given, which was based on the question that Parikshit asked in the 8th chapter, and then the discussion keep on progressing further, and then something interesting happens. Okay, please read this.
Yeah. I will explain later in chapter 11th of Canto 3. The measurement of time which takes the form of kalpas. Now hear from me about the Padma Kalpa.
Padma Kalpa. So Padma Kalpa actually means where the Kalpa or the period where the Lord Brahma took birth on the lotus, and that is also known as the Varha Kalpa or Shwet Kalpa. So I just took some names for you. The 30 days of Brahma in a month. So the very first day is known as Shwet Kalpa. So this Shwet Kalpa is the same as the Padma Kalpa. So here it is being mentioned as Padma Kalpa. Why it is mentioned as Shwet Kalpa? Because Lord Varahadev, which is known as Shwet Varaha, because there are 2 Varahas, one is Shwet and one is red. One is white, one is red. I don't exactly know the difference between the two. Maybe they took birth in the different kalpas. But Shwet Kalpa is being mentioned as because in this same Kalpa, Lord appeared as Varaha. So that is why it is known as Shwet Kalpa. So here Shukdev Goswami is saying to Parikshit Maharaj, I will explain to you about the measurement time little later. Just brief description I have given you. In the beginning of the Brahma, it is actually primary creation which is known as Vikalpa, and in the each day of Brahma is known as Kalpa, where the secondary creation keeps on taking place again and again, like that. So now hear from me about Padma Kalpa. So here Shukdev Goswami is about to enter into the description of what is Padma Kalpa. But something interesting happens. And now the theme changes. So you see, we were discussing about Visarga explained. Now the theme has changed. Theme has come to Shaunak Rishi inquires about Vidur Maitreya Samvar. Please read, Mataji, 48 to 50. 3 verses together.
Yeah. Shaunaka said, O Sutta, you have told us that Vidura, the best of devotees, went on pilgrimage around the world, giving up friends who are difficult to give up. Discussion of the soul took place between Vidura and Maitreya. Knowledgeable Maitreya, implored by Vidura, explained the highest truth. O excellent sage, please tell us all of that and the actions of Vidura.
Now, what is going on is Shukdev Goswami is narrating this incident to Parikshit Maharaj, and this conversation is being heard by whom? Actually, the reference of Shukdev Goswami Parikshit Maharaj conversation is being discussed between the sages of Naimisharanya. So they were asking these questions, and by giving reference to these various conversations in the history, they were trying to answer these questions. Sud Goswami is trying to answer these questions. Now, while this narration is going on, where Shukdev Goswami is saying that, okay, let me narrate you about Padmakalpa. Immediately, Shaunak Adi Rishis or Shaunak Rishi stands up and interjects. He says, Sud Goswami, I think a lot of technical description has been done, creation, sarga, visarga, this pradhan, mahatatva, etc., virat purusha, and whatnot. Now, I think let us change the mood a little bit. And in the 13th chapter of the first canto, the very first verse, you mentioned about Vidura leaving the home and going for a pilgrimage where he met Maitre Rishi. So what about describing about that discussion, what happened between Vidura and Maitre Rishi? So you probably, when these two great people, two great devotees would have met, there would have been discussed a lot of transcendental topics and all that discussion would have happened. So enough of this technical, I think he does not mention it like that, enough of technical discussion, but I think the mood is something very similar. We'd like to hear a little bit more about some transcendental topics. You have discussed a lot of technical things now, but let us change the mood by describing a little bit about some transcendental topics. So please tell us what topics were discussed between Maitre and Vidura. Why did Vidura leave his family? Why he returned back? What did he do on the pilgrimage? So please, can you explain me all about the activities of Vidura? So that is the main message from this verse. And then the last verse of this chapter.
Yeah.
Please.
Sutta said, I will explain to you what the great sage Shukadeva spoke in response to Parikshit when asked by Parikshit. Please listen.
So what does it mean? Now, the conversation, Shaunak Rishi raised this question, he interrupted the conversation. Then Sud Goswami also became very joyful. He said that, yes, I will explain it to you, because the same question was asked by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukdev only. So Parikshit also asked, please tell me about the Vidur Maitreya Samvad. So I'm going to relate to you because Parikshit also asked a similar question. So we'll now answer to you based on that discussion. So now that will be the topic of discussion in the canto number 3. So with this, I am very happy to announce that we have finished our canto number 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we can congratulate each other with this achievement. We will take questions a little later, but now let me also announce that in the next Sunday, we will not have our regular Bhagavatam class. Rather, we will have a small class, not small, maybe could be same as maybe 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, class on Sri Ram Navami. And that class I will deliver in Hindi. I will also invite our Hindi audience, the class for whom is organized on Wednesday. So it will be a combined class on Ram Navami, where I will try to pick up one pastime from Ram Navami, and whatever best possible we can analyze, we can ourselves immerse in that discussion of Ram Katha. I will relate to you from that book. So that is where we will go. And then already requesting Jeevan Prabhu to kindly give me the topic, because we also like to give opportunity to the devotees in the class to present and develop as good speakers, to present their own classes and so on. So Prabhu can give me. Other devotees can also suggest to me their topics and how much time they need for the class, so that I can arrange for that. Subsequent Sunday, we will be in Govardhan Retreat Center near Vrindavan, where we are taking a group of devotees all from this online arrangement only. So there will not be any class. On Sunday, we will be busy in Govardhan Retreat Center doing our own on-site satsang rather than doing our online satsang. So kindly excuse me for taking vacation for the online satsang in those period. So that is something which I like to announce. Now we can move to this slide. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada Ji and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Any takeaways, comments and questions we can take now. And I will update the list for the devotees for service in the next class, which will be the next Bhagavatam class. So you can kindly wait for the Bhagavatam class. No revision will be done on the Ramnavami class. Rakesh ji and I would say Vrindavaneshwari ji or somebody. Meanwhile, you can think of any questions.
Did the rishis stop the description of kalpas because we are still in first kalpa, the Padma kalpa only?
Yeah, why did they stop was mainly, as written in the text, is mainly to have a discussion more on transcendental topics. And we are in the first kalpa, I also think so. Yeah. Yeah. So that is what it is. I am not very sure we are in the first kalpa or in the other kalpa. I will confirm that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other? So we will be also. Yes, Ishwar Prabhuji. Yeah.
Many congratulations for your great effort. And,
yeah, it was, second canto was really a great effort because of very technical subject matter, and I had to really apply my brains and spend a lot of time to understand and digest these verses so that I can explain it to the class better. So the reward is that I have my own understanding done a little good. It has done good to my own understanding, and I hope it will have helped you also to understand the subject matter and inspired you in the stories and descriptions of Bhagavatam. So, by the way, I just want to check. I recently heard that if we study the Sandarbha